Our next performer is Mustafa Zeno. Mustafa is a filmmaker, photographer, cultural anthropologist, and educator, and you thought you were well-rounded. His work focuses on the fringes and the spaces between cultures and in religion. He's going to do a Pecha Kucha presentation, and if you don't know what that is, you're about to find out, but it involves 20 seconds, 20 photographs, and 20 thoughts.
So, when Aziza asked me, to write a story for Spotlight, I thought, perfect, finally, it's time for me to deal with my avoidance of dealing with what's going on in Syria. I was born in LA, but I grew up in Syria. Both of my parents are from there, and so are both of their ancestors for at least a few centuries. I came back 12 years ago. When the war started 5 years ago, I was up in arms. What do I do? Do I go and document what's going on? Do I fight? Who would I even fight? Luckily, none of those were options because Mom and Sis came to LA to live with me. And they're in the audience. Shout out. And in trying to stitch a story, an arc, put everything together, I was trying to figure it out, and I knew it was something about denial and agency. And if we can pause it just for 10 seconds and continue, please. And taking control of my fate, it wasn't all fully making sense. We can continue now. I wanted to pull from this one thing that happened about 1.5 years ago. There was one day I was napping. I hadn't slept the day before. It was midday, about 3 p.m., and my mom wakes me up. My brother is calling. She tells me she doesn't know why. I call my brother back. He tells me that my dad was kidnapped. I was completely dazed and confused. I hadn't really even woken up. It was end of March. I thought it was a sick April Fool's joke or something. He swears Dad got kidnapped and they want $20,000 for him. I hang up. Sure enough, I have missed calls from a strange cell phone number that I didn't know. 13 missed calls, to be exact. I call back, and this guy with this strange accent, I can't figure out where it's from exactly. He tells me that my dad is in Syria, and he owes them $20,000, and that's what they want before they release him. I don't believe his story for a second. I know that my dad doesn't owe anyone money. I know that he's in Lebanon. He would never go to Syria. And his accent, it didn't make sense. It was flip-flopping. In Syria, you can know exactly where someone's from their accent. And I asked for my dad, and sure enough, it's him. He tells me that not to worry. He's safe, that they are nice people, and that they will work with me. I knew that was code that I can negotiate with them, that they will accept less. I go down from 20,000 to 5,000, and I try to figure it out. My mom still doesn't know. I tell her, make a lie up, that why I need the money. I come up with the money. I send it to a name in Egypt, Western Union, and they say they will release him as soon as they receive it, but I call and call and call, and no answer. Silence, complete silence. I speak to the FBI during this time, and they tell me, not a single dime. You don't give them a single dime, they said. Easy for you to say, I thought. It's not your father's life. 8 hours later, sure enough, they answer. Another $5,000 they want. The FBI was right. More money was not going to necessarily mean freedom for my dad, I realized. I negotiate the same way I was taught to for slippers, literally, for his life. 5,000, they say. I say 200. 450. Okay, 100, fine. I say, how can I trust you when I gave you 5,000, you didn't release him, you're gonna release him for 100. Last thing I hear is, forget about your father, and they hang up. And I feel nothing, completely numb. What's wrong with me? What the fuck is wrong with me, I think? I feel completely guilty. Why am I not collapsing right now? Do I hate my father? An hour later, I get a phone call from a Lebanese phone number, someone with a Lebanese accent that I can pinpoint. He tells me, your dad is safe. Who are you? Let me talk to my dad. I don't believe him. My dad answers, he's in tears. He's safe somewhere in northern Lebanon. Turns out that they are just a bunch of hooligans from Syria, not with any faction, just took up some arms, went to an area in Lebanon, outside of the authority of the Lebanese authorities, and tried to pass as an olive oil company, brought my dad from Turkey to Lebanon, and here I was all halfway around the world in the US trying to fix it. This was a situation where actually my denial had helped me. If it was a source of strength. If I, for a second, did actually come to terms with the fact that my dad, how close to death my dad was, I would have never been able to negotiate for his life. So why can't I do the same thing for Syria? Why can't I use this denial to help me deal with Syria? Well, my excuse is I grew up under a dictatorship, and when you do that, you create this aversion to processing. When dissent can cost you your life, your mind adapts. You start to internalize this belief and only react when things fall into your lap. I got out of Syria many years ago, so I do not have an excuse. But my mom, still 4 years after she's here, she still tells me, don't do anything political. We want to be able to go back to our country, go back to our home, she says. But it's hard not to be in denial. Looking white, living in the US, completely far away from the atrocities in Syria, and also from the prejudices that other Muslims might feel here in the US, even people like my mom, my sister, who, as you saw, wear the scarf. So as you see, the time is over, and I still was not able to figure out what this really was about, what was exactly the story. I guess it's about the far-reaching effects of war, or it's about how war doesn't make sense. I mean, no wonder I was really hard to put this together. And finally, no matter how easy it is to avoid dealing with things, there's my biggest thing that I learned is that we need to negotiate. There's tons of things to negotiate for. We need to negotiate for our own well-being, for our family's well-being, and for our society's well-being. Thank you.